Maybe it's you. Well, there is help close by. In the Bay Area, we have the Gracer Medical Center, a group that mixes traditional with alternative methods of treatment for addictions. Dr. Richard Gracer is the founder and also the author of A New Prescription for Addiction, and he joins me this morning. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
You turned to holistic medicine because of a car accident. Explain.
Well, I was in an automobile accident in 1977, which caused me to be out of work for 6 months. And it wasn't until I was sent by one of my doctors to a physical therapist who was trained in Europe, who used spinal manipulation, which is sort of like chiropractic or osteopathic, to get me back to work. It took about a week. And at that point, I realized that I hadn't learned a lot of things in medical school.
So you were pretty much practicing traditional medicine. What kind of doctor were you at the time?
I was a family doctor.
You were a family doctor, and now you see all these alternatives, say it's a good idea. What makes an addict?
You know, it's a combination of a lot of things. First of all, most addicts have a genetic predisposition. In other words, you have it in your family. You can't do much about that. And then it's the exposure to the drug. So somebody who has the genetic predisposition, but their family's very religious, they don't drink, will not have a problem. Others, of course, get into trouble.
Yeah. You say your approach to all of this is revolutionary. I mean, it's a big word. What does that mean?
That's a big word. It's not my own revolutionary approach. What I say is there are revolutionary new treatments to treat the brain disease of addiction. There are actual changes in the brain that happen when people get addicted to drugs. And now there are some new treatments that really treat that, to treat the cravings, which are really the things that fuel relapse.
So like when somebody takes either a pill or they have that first drink, a little something happens up there. And what do you do so it doesn't have that connection?
Well, by the time I see them, the connection's been made, probably for years. And what these new medications do is it can help actually either take care of or actually reverse some of these brain problems, depending on what the drug is.
Some of the problems of trying to get rid of maybe an addiction is to go on drugs. Do you try to get away from that as much as possible and then use other types of treatments?
We do everything. This is a multifactorial problem. It's a problem that affects people's lives in so many ways that unless you treat it from psychosocial, you treat any psychiatric problems, and also this brain disease problem, even nutritional problems, you're not going to get the success. You also have to have people in long-term care with supervision for quite a while. You can't just treat them for 4 to 6 weeks and then all of a sudden expect them to be okay when you send them home.
So it's behavior modification. I mean, it's a lifelong change most people have to make.
Yeah, it's a long process.
Is addiction only applied when it's a substance, or could you have a lifestyle addiction, or you could have an emotional addiction as well?
Yeah, well, you can have addiction gambling, for example. There's all kinds of addictions that have very little to do with physical problems. And there's some evidence that this is genetic as well, and the treatment is sort of psychosocial. There aren't as many drugs to help that. The new thing with these new medicines I'm talking about is that it can really reduce the cravings and minimize them, almost get rid of them. And that's just a humongous change for these people.
We were hoping to have one of your patients on, one of your former patients this morning who had some back problems, had a couple of ruptured discs, went in for surgery, had some problems, and the pain was pretty great. She got addicted to the drugs, from what I understand, and you helped her get off those drugs.
Right. She has a typical problem. People get on Norco or Vicodin or OxyContin, which are the real big prescription drugs that people are addicted to. And if you have the genetic predisposition, so say that alcoholism before, whatever, you can get hooked on it and not be able to get off. In her case, she just couldn't get off. She tried and tried. No matter what she did, she got terrible withdrawal and actually got into some pretty bad drug behaviors. So she's being treated with a drug called buprenorphine or Subutex, which actually takes over that type of craving problem and treats the receptor sites. Our goal is to gradually get people off over about a year once they get on that.
The name of the book is A New Prescription for Addiction. Your center is out in San Ramon, correct?
Right. It is in San Ramon at the hospital there.
Nice to have you here this morning.
Thank you.
A New Prescription for Addiction by Dr. Richard Gracer. Time now is 20 minutes after 8. Let's go back to the desk.